I warmly welcome you to the 36th edition of DOK.fest Munich, and without any interruption, we are directly going into our setup here. I'm Sebastian Sorg, and I'm very happy to welcome today Mind the Brain. And I have Kathrin Brunner and Oliver Czeslik from myndstorm here in order to introduce us into their project. So, Mind the Brain, what does it mean? Can you explain it? What do we see here?
First of all, it's a VR installation. It's an experience. So we're not seeing. Of course, in 2D we are seeing, but mostly the person is experiencing. You know, it's about an experience, and hopefully we try to get you inside your own subconscious.
How does that work? I see now Anna here in the background. She has a setup, the VR goggles that we all know, and she has some sensors on their head. Can you maybe explain how it works?
Yes, she has a medical grade brain interface. Also, you will know this as an EEG, electroencephalogram. It's actually not a very new technology. It was developed already 100 years ago. It's used for neurofeedback, also for medical purposes. So what we do is we measure the state of the brain, and we use that for an interaction. Neurofeedback gives you a sense of whether your brain is at the moment focusing, whether you're relaxing, Anna will be using that in parts of the experience to interact with the world around her, which is in virtual reality.
So if I understand you right, she's in a kind of interaction with herself, with her neuronal insight.
Neuronal pathways, yes.
Pathways?
Yes.
And she's reacting to visuals that your device is creating in that moment, or are they always the same?
We have
visuals?
several steps. In the beginning, there are simple interactions. And in the end, hopefully, there's a space we call the poetic space of yourself, where you can explore archetypes. We will see that later. In this case, we will see it. We will watch it. We will not experience it, but Anna will. And we can talk about that. And this is our goal, to come to this poetic room through different steps, leading you towards those steps in order to get rid of normative structures of narration.
Okay, so how long does this experience work?
So it lasts about 30 minutes, and I think we can explain the interaction later on when it's happening. At the moment, Anna has just entered the experience, and she's basically traveling through a world of her own mind. At the moment, what you can see here is she has entered the Cathedral of the brain. So the images that you see are live from what she sees in virtual reality. So these are produced live from a Unity engine. And we derived this room, it's supposed to show the majesty of the brain and the beauty. And it's actually derived from scientific models of all the connections inside the brain. But we did an artistic interpretation of that. And Oliver worked closely together with Fred Kellerman, who's our director. So from a scientific model, we basically created this visualization with our 3D artists.
Yes.
Okay. Important for us is that it's not like if you are experiencing this VR experience that you're always watching the same visuals. It's kind of your device is reacting to what your neuronal feedback creates. Is that right?
Yes. In the beginning, we will have something what we call nose tracking or eye tracking. So it's the first interaction, which will come after the next station. We are falling down now. We can follow Anna's falling down into a color lake. We call it the color lake, which is the beginning of a more poetic space. So, and thank you, Florian. And we will continue later with the stream. but you can see here a lot of artistic interpretation of those scientific models we got from Forschungszentrum Jülich and the Human Brain Project. So we had really good partners, which was important for us in order to create afterwards an interpretation.
And how did you have the idea to create this project? What was at the beginning, and how long did it take for you that you can now show it to us?
How long did it take? Well, a lifetime. A lot of things, a lot of ideas, a lot of working, and then of course coming together with Kathrin, my wife. So we are married. We have not only this company, Myndstorm Productions, but our goal is to work on future narration. So and that was my goal as an author for theater, for example, as well. I always aimed to get so close as possible to the most open forms of narration and not structured from the outside. So no well-made plays. It was very famous in the 90s, and I was on the other side, as was called the post-dramatic side, and I'm still, I think that was a good school for my mind. But so I had a lot of experience as an author, but I never succeeded because, as we can see it here in the beautiful theater, the structures are so stable that you have to obey in a way. You are the audience. We want to get rid of the audience. We want to get rid of users. We want you to be a co-creator. And yes, and there was a second point. So I had a 2016 a stroke, which brought me inside my some spaces which I couldn't imagine before that they exist inside of me. So, yes.
So afterwards, you had the idea to work with neuronal.
There was a step in between, actually.
Yes.
So I come from developing video-on-demand portals for 20 years, and always in the step between film and technology.
Yeah.
And also in that same time, I came across virtual reality, where a lot of things change in narration. So when you are part of the world that you're in, and also when you can interact, the relationship between you and the environment is a different one than if you have a film. If you have a film, or in the classical theater, the play, everything that's happening is also outside. So you look at a square screen, and all the rules of narration that we've developed have come from drawing you into that space. And now, when you're like Anna, what we can see when you're inside of that space, at the moment she's basically looking for the next step to go through. The whole relationship between what's happening between the narration and yourself changes.
Now you see the interaction.
And
now
here you see
she's concentrating on this hole,
and now she's
disappearing in it. Florian, can we switch, please?
And so what actually happens is that we are in a quite exciting stage in virtual reality, and that is that we can basically rewrite the rules of narration that will happen in these new spaces. So because the brain was a big topic for us, also because Oliver recovered really magnificently, and because of the brain's ability to structure and restructure, this is what we wanted to show.
This is...
We're just at the moment coming inside the eye nerve. So what she is at the moment is watching is the nerve inside the eye, and the next step that she will enter is really the world of the neurons. And so, to put a long story short, we were sitting around the living room table one day and saying, okay, we want to do something in that space. We want to do virtual reality. We want to work in that field where we can reinvent narration. What do we want to do? We said that we have to produce something ourselves. So this is actually what we did. We said we want to bring you inside the one thing that narrates everything, and that is the brain. And that's basically the starting point. Yeah.
Yes. Now we can watch Anna's neurons firing. That's what Musk does it with an implantat and with a monkey. We don't need that. We just have models and poetry.
Yeah.
So danke, Florian.
I'd just like to know, you had this idea to use Unity and virtual reality and the the technique in order to use neuronal and also eye tracking, if I understood you right. In what kind of way? If I see now like the movement and the storytelling, as we know in VR is working differently, she's concentrating on some specific holds, for example, or something else. She's not working with her hands. It's just by her eyes and what information you're getting from the signals. How does this work? Is there any way that you constructed already this kind of roller coaster, or is it all like every time reacting in a different way?
Yes.
There's a general way that you move through the experience. So everyone passes through the cathedral, everyone ends up in this room. There's some different branches, but that is nothing new because Unity is a game engine, so this is what you do in a game engine. But what is really novel is if you see, these are the neurons, and the blinking things are the thoughts, or the electrical signals, and the velocity of these electrical signals is actually controlled with the brain interface. Because when you focus or when you concentrate on something, basically the frequency that your brain operates with changes, and if you with these changes, our Unity engine interacts. So basically, when she is thinking of something that makes her very angry, then the neurons will fire faster, and you will see that. So this is actually basically a real-time animation of neurons firing.
It's the moment when I really would like to see like three persons next to each other in order to compare and to watch, or in different stages, like in the morning or in the evening.
We want to do in the premiere, in the open shows, because when you have a collective surrounding, we have a black box in the middle, which is some kind the center of narration, of your personal narration, and it will be projected inside the room as a living installation.
Yeah.
And the collective also gives, there's a reaction to that from your brain. You can see that too.
So what's your aim by leading individuals? I'm not saying users, I'm not saying like...
travelers.
But bringing travelers into this experience. Do you have a message for them? Does everybody create his own message in this?
Yes, hopefully everybody creates it. Hopefully everybody creates the possibility of creation and the possibilities of creation. We have billions of neurons inside of us, and there's so many possibilities we never use. So in my case, because of a dysfunction, I was able to get inside those spaces. Don't do that. But other people use drugs. LSD should be, I heard about that, quite good. So we don't have a dealer, we do it another way with technology. Or the US Army uses this as a torture, for example. Yes, so you can get in those spaces of your own narration also as a torture, throughout the torture tool.
So actually this technique which you're using now for the
technique is very simple. Don't see, don't hear, and be in a presence.
Okay, that's what you mean. It's not like your machine is actually already worked.
And now what we can see, now we're entering a new room. So maybe, Sebastian, we go into the experience again. Now what we're entering is the poetic room. So we're leaving the place of the thoughts. We're leaving the electrical signals. We'll see one last one shooting by. And then next thing that we will see is a mandala, a Buddhistic symbol. And so now Anna is traveling to a new world, and this is what we say the world of her thoughts.
How did you develop those rooms and spaces and structures?
It was a long time of period of try, error, and discussions. We have a fantastic team. We should talk about the team.
Yes, and your partners.
Because without them it would be nothing.
So you started 2 years ago, actually, with your
3
team?
years ago.
3 years ago.
Concrete, we started 3 years in 2018. And so we had various open labs, but you can explain that much better than I can. In partners with Bauhaus University Weimar. with the Reeperbahn Festival, which was pretty rock and roll. And in VR Days Amsterdam, and the Creators Lab, which was amazing, which was one of the biggest steps.
It was the first step where we brought the brain interface and the VR together. So we had several steps, and we tested every step along the way. We started with building a 7-minute VR experience. And projecting that, so the projection installation concept we tested with Bauhaus University. The next step at Reeperbahn, we had a brain interface that we projected, and we had the VR experience, but we didn't bring it together. We wanted to see how people react, what they react to, what they take out of it, and at VR Days it was the first time that we basically brought the two together and had an interaction inside the VR.
And did you anytime have any not problems, but were you afraid that you could harm somebody when you were developing this? Because somebody would have an experience, as you were talking about torture. If I imagine I'm trying to find out something about this, also like experiencing LSD trips or anything. If you compare it to these things, were you afraid that something like this could occur to somebody?
Not our goal. We want to do the opposite. Exactly the opposite. We want to give you the freedom of your narration and the possibilities and the poetry and the magic. There's so much magic in us. We never discover because we have to work in structures, otherwise these societies will fail. But so now we are fluent. Now we can see the first archetypal buildings.
Or creatures. I can show a little bit. We can see, at the moment that we can see how she's focusing. So we basically, we will see shapes when the focusing starts. And I can show a little bit. We can take a look now inside the brain interface. Also, we hope that we have a good signal still. So, no, this one here. So this is basically what we see is the live brain signal of Anna that comes from the medical brain interface. And here is what you see, the brain assistant. This is where we measure the data, and this is basically where we transform it into a signal that comes into Unity. And here we see the shapes that Anna can create. And sind wir noch drin?
Ja.
Ja.
Okay.
Oliver, macht ihr mal weiter?
So, yes, she's trying to relax. The more relaxed you are, the better the signals will come out as a image. So it takes quite a time. This is a special situation. Every time it's different. That's because it's your art craft, not mine anymore. Especially in those. And if you are in the VR headset, it's like dancing with your thoughts, with your mind, and that's very, very interesting.
So that was your initial idea, to give the traveler the possibility to dance with himself and experience himself in a different way, in order to have a new focus on what we actually have as, like what we possess, what we are, on what we can experience, if I understand you right.
Yes, and that we should know that there's not only fiction and reality. There's something even more than this, or there are entities which combine two things. And a lot of, we know it, Freud knows that, and he said the subconscious is like a negative of a photo, which is very nice, I think, especially in this context of the DOK.fest. So we're trying to take documents.
Oh, look, now you see.
Now you can switch.
and you can see a very interesting reaction, because if you see something that you react to strongly, because those images, they react to if you focus or if you defocus, and if you see an image where you react pretty strongly, which could be like that spider, the reaction also takes it away. So that's a very interesting kind of interaction that we have. Yeah.
Before I ask you more about the development and the production details, what is your experience with, we call them now travelers who are coming back out of their experience? How many people did the experience already experience? And what do they tell you?
Look, we have elephants.
Yeah, she got the elephant.
It's so different as people are, you know.
Yeah.
We had all ages, from children to elder people. We had people who suffered from a stroke, like me, or from a heart attack, who had something like, you can call it a between life and death situation. They react different than a young, very healthy person without any context of being in those really strange but amazing spaces of your own. And we have scientists, we have neurologen,
neurologists.
we have artists, of course, because we're working together with Fred Kellerman, which was very important for us as creators, to find someone who has a filmic point of view, and not only one filmic, a very special one. So he's a fantastic art house director. Never done VR before, and we wanted to bring our tech freaks together with a guy who has done amazing film stuff, in our opinion. And it worked very, very hard, but it was an experiment.
You were telling about the labs that you went through and the workshops, and of course you need some techie guys or people who are taking care about those things. What kind of partnerships did you have to look for? Like, are they like medical neuro scientists, or who do I have to talk to if I'm interested to going into that direction? And I mean, you are actually coming out of the world of media, if I understood you right, so it was all pretty new for you.
Yes. The hardest thing is to learn about all the calculations that you need when you produce something. Essentially, even though I'm a trained business person, that was actually, I think that had to be the largest challenge. So yeah, who are our partners? Brain Boost is a medical practice, basically quite near here, around the corner in Sendlinger Straße, and they provide the brain assistant software that we could just see. They use that for training for example, children that have HDHS. If you have HDHS, you have this constant urge to move and to do something. And with the neurofeedback, you can basically learn to control that better. And Brain Boost already did very specific games for training. And we're setting up on their kind of interaction. Also Forschungszentrum Jülich were our partners right from the beginning, when we basically learned more on the brain, and also for all the imagery that we're using. Also Mark Herrmann from Trick Labor, who is a 3D artist, our Sebastian Esposito, who's basically the father of everything that's
and
the technology.
And what we don't get here is the sound, the incredible sound by Neil Carsten Fischer.
Yes.
Okay, so there's also a three-dimensional sound.
Yes.
Yes, we have ambisonics in there.
Okay. How could you finance all this? Who was giving you the money to develop this and to produce it?
That's a serious question. We go out now. Well, first having this idea, sitting on as Kathrin said, on a table, saying we have to go straight in the center of the ration, which is your brain and not our. It's your brain. We want to have Sebastian's brain. Let's see how it works. If he enjoys it, what he is experiencing.
That was your goal, to get my brain. I understand.
And that was pretty crazy to persuade also scientific guys about this idea. So we see a lot of people, but wir sind nicht mehr in credits. Okay, that's good. So then we had to find the artistic point of view for the physical installation. We had the Bauhaus University with Juliane Fuchs from Weimar. Of course, we needed a guy who brings all this, as we mentioned, Fred Kellerman.
I think I can leave Anna out. Yeah.
We have that sound, and of course we have
Anna?
Sebastian,
Wir dürfen dich jetzt mal rauslassen.
and Mark Hamann for bringing, for pioneering, bringing all those crazy technologies together at one point, which was very, very hard. And at the beginning we had no money, besides our own money. So for 1.5 years, nearly 2 years, we worked hard with 24 people, and it was our private fun factor.
Yes.
And luckily in 2020, the FFF, the Film Fernsehfonds Bayern, stepped inside and said, this is amazing. I don't know, and that was really great. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to produce it in the first lockdown year.
And it's not like a project that you could sell afterwards or that anybody could use for license trading, as we know it from media, that you could like license it as an experience for relaxation when I'm on a flight or when I need some medical
I think
issues.
you could do that, but that was not our goal. Our goal was first an artistic goal.
It's an artistic goal.
And then, of course, a goal of entertainment, which must not be ein Widerspruch. Yes. But it was always clear that creating a product was not our aim, because you are not a product. We wanted to give you the freedom of getting rid of products.
So where can I experience this project, Mind the Brain, in future?
Well, hopefully, we wanted to show it next week at the Blitzclub at Deutsches Museum, but yes, you can tell that.
Due to the pandemic, it doesn't work at the Blitzclub now.
Yeah, we have to postpone for another month, and then hopefully it will work, because of course the regulations are difficult. Our problematic situation was actually that we are at a club, what they call a Zwischennutzung, and although clubs are cultural places now, we still can't open, even though the theaters can open. So we hope that that will change in 4 weeks.
But it will be possible in June, and everybody who's interested to stay in touch and to experience this really stunning VR experience can do it in June, and you can stay in touch on your website, myndstorm.me. Myndstorm.me. And now we can talk with Anna. Yes.
Please.
And so while Anna comes up,
can you already walk?
Yes.
Okay.
I still want to take the because I left when we were talking about the team that's behind, and I really have to say, without a team that was really behind us, that traveled to us to festivals, sleeping on couches at their friends, Sebastian, Juliane, you know everyone, many people that supported us, Jessica, many thanks. It was really, without a lot of people that dedicated a lot of their heart to it, it wouldn't have been possible. Yeah. So now we're really curious what Anna thought.
Anna, tell us.
How do you feel?
Quite good. It was a nice experience. A lot of interesting colors and themes, and it was really inspiring, I would say.
Can you give us an idea what you heard? Because there's also sound.
Yeah. In the beginning, you have the impression of a train, because you're driving through a tunnel.
Okay.
And then you enter the different rooms, and I felt it's quite psychedelic music, I would say. It was kind of relaxing.
Did you expect this kind of music was it like already, you had the feeling that you already know what you experienced there?
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean the first room is like, or yeah, like you imagine, you look, your brain looks like from inside, kind of, a little bit, with all the pipes and everything. Could also be in a swimming pool, but yeah, and the music fits quite well, I think. It's
and is it kind of, I imagine it's like kind of watching into a very special mirror, or how would you describe what you just experienced?
It's more like flying, I think. It's more like diving through, yeah, different spaces.
And how did your body feel in this situation? Did you feel lighter?
Yeah, you feel lighter, and you have to be careful because if you feel too light, then you, I don't know, you have to be stay on the ground a little bit. Otherwise, your body, I think, also will interact like you are flying somewhere.
But you had no problems in walking afterwards?
No, I didn't.
And would you do it again, or?
Yeah, definitely.
So you can recommend?
Yes, I can recommend. Yeah, definitely.
And you stayed a long time now under the goggles because we had some technical issues at the beginning.
No, it's no problem.
No problem.
Yeah, I really like the elephant in the end.
Yes.
It's quite interesting. But you told me that it's kind of coincidence.
It's your elephant.
It's my elephant. Oh, that's great. I love elephants.
Yeah, we have different images that come up, and when you focus on these images, they appear.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes, if you act strongly to an image, then it blows up again and disappears. But actually, which images appear is really a, how do you say, it's automatically generated, so it's a bit of chance, so the elephant found you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
But the way the images morph is your way, is your neurons.
Okay, yeah.
As you're calling it, mind the brain, it's also kind of an imperative for us. What can we do? How can we change our world or our life in order to take care of our brain? Is that kind of a part of your message, or?
That's what you're saying. So, maybe.
Maybe to be putting it that way, we have a very strong and powerful mindfulness movement, which is interesting, but it's also sometimes the mindfulness movement moves away from political thinking, so that's why that's not really our message. Our message is a bit different, because if you look at in the US, there's a lot of people that work with neurofeedback, and if you look at what Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink, there's a very mechanistical view of the world behind. So, for example, Elon Musk has this chimpanzee that gets triggered. It's basically an implanted chip in the brain, and he can play Pong with that, and that plays with the addiction modes, and basically it's the machine and the chimpanzee interacting, but really the machine controls the chimpanzee, and you get very put into a tight place. And social media does that with that. And our message is the opposite, that we want to be creative. We want everyone that's inside the experience to shape the experience. And of course it's a first step, but that's more the message that we want to take, is to be free and to go out and look at structures. Oliver can say that much better than I do.
Ich kann es auf Deutsch sagen. Also wir sind so vielen Konditionierungen ständig unterworfen, dass wir, wenn wir ein Ziel haben, versuchen, diese Konditionierung aufzubrechen und zu dekonditionieren, zu deregulieren. Die Systeme, die Offenheit der Systeme zu zeigen und die Poesie dahinter, und zwar deine eigene Poesie. Und das ist eigentlich die Kraft des Gehirns. Das ist Mind the Brain. Nicht Mind the Gap, sondern Mind the Brain, weil es hat ja etwas zu sagen, aber du musst auch darauf aufpassen, dass es anständig nutzt, ja? Und zwar die ganzen Kräfte, die in diesem Gehirn verborgen sind, und sie nicht ständig zugemüllt werden durch das, was wir tun und sollen und unterlassen sollen und so weiter. Ja. Das ist eigentlich alles, aber das ist dann halt wieder der poetische, künstlerische Ansatz.
Yeah. So to put that quickly in English, what we want to do is to show the beauty also of open systems, because neural networks are self-organizing open systems. They also reorganize. And And basically, we're really shaped very much through conditioning. And what we try to do is deconditioning, is by understanding the methods that your brain works better, and also by getting people to think about what your mind and what your brain is, we can try to decondition. Yeah.
Das könnte man auch weiterführen im politischen Sinne, im gesellschaftlichen,
I think
soziologischen Sinne, im
that's
philosophischen
an
Sinne.
important
Da gibt es so
aspect of
viel
your
zu
work.
sagen, weil es ist halt das Gehirn. Das ist das Schöne.
It's an important aspect of your work because we know that all what you're using now technically is also possible for everybody else.
Yes.
And for everybody who wants to profit out of it. Your project is an art piece, and but it's also showing us some, and that's a political part of it, I would say. It also shows us a focus on how you can mislead and misuse, or how you can abuse this technology, and also the users, the travelers, who we are.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And we have highly sensitive data. I mean, Anna was nice and shared some with us.
I'm happy that you say that. It's not us, you know. It's good if you say
Well,
that.
that's the point at the end of it.
And also we don't store it, but there are systems, and I don't say you shouldn't do this. I think you can probably develop highly interesting things if you take systems where you store, for example, the brain data across a number of persons, and try to put learning algorithms behind. But I mean, if we are already afraid of using personal data like telephone numbers, then data that comes from our body and from our mind, of course, that shows us also this is a really, really highly sensitive area. And we see that, for example, glasses companies in the US are building more and more sensors inside their glasses. And they're already using a lot of data. Oculus uses very much data when you're in there. So there's a highly important data protection issue.
So they're not using neurological, like neuro signals, but the eye tracking already is telling a lot, and all these information is very
It's connected
personal.
to the brain.
Yeah. But there are also
informations.
there are
at
glasses
the
in
end
development
used.
that have already also EEG chips in there. So the sensors that we're using, I'm very sure will also be part of headsets. There's different sensors you can use and different things you can do with them, but we're pretty sure that in a year or two, basically we'll also have VR headsets with built-in sensors that are mass market. So it's not at the moment what we're doing is something that's very unique, but we don't think that's something that will stay in niche, because there's a lot of interest in this technology also. Yeah.
So, what can I say? Thank you very much for this premiere, for this kind of world premiere here at DOK.fest.
Yeah.
Am I right? For the project?
For this step, yes.
Yes.
For this step, yes. What's the next step? The premiere for the open audience in June? And I hope that as many people as possible will be able to watch and to experience what Anna did today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Kathrin, thank you, Oliver. I'm really looking forward to your project and to the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.